Welcome back to Paint Society. In this episode, we're going to be reviewing and showing you guys how to do a small repair using the DeVilbiss DV1S. We're going to talk to you guys about sealer instead of primering and how to keep your metallic small in order to make sure that your next panel matches perfectly. So let's go ahead and jump into it right now. And here's the panel we're painting today. And although it looks like we have enough room, we want to make sure, one, our color match is good, and two, we make sure we contain it within the fender. We don't take it too far. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure if you have a paint booth that the exhaust is on one side, then you're going to make sure that all of the exhaust is exhausting to the front of the blend rather than pulling it across the blend. And I cannot stress how important that is, because if you have the exhaust in the back, all of your metallic is just going to come over into your blend area, and we don't want any sort of paint or overspray here. And if you have that, guess what? It's going to darken this light silver metallic, and it's not going to match. Now you can see here we do have some burn throughs. Now you have two alternatives to this. You can either go ahead and re-primer it and be a little bit more cautious with the sanding, or you can seal it. This is a great candidate for sealer. This is a P320 sand scratch, and we're going to go ahead and seal it. And remember, sealer is a thinned out primer that you don't need to sand, and you can base it right over. We have the same thing with the bumper over here, but today we're going to be focusing on the fender blend. Now here's our DV1S. Now I don't always use a small repair gun, but they're great to have as an option when doing this type of repair. And as we open it up, we can see that the size of the gun is much smaller, but what I do love about this, just by looking at it, is it's not completely too tiny to hold, so I still can get one or two fingers on it with comfort and ease, but it is definitely a much smaller gun. And we take a look at the air cap on first glance, and as we take off the air cap, we can see that the fluid size here is going to be a 1.0. Now most commonly you'll see with these spray guns is a 0.8 or a 1.0. It's going to have finer atomization, and you're going to be able to keep that overspray down when you're doing these types of blends. Now we're going to be using this specifically for our base coat, which is really important to keep it contained. We're going to go ahead and start off with our sealer here in just a moment, but before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have as far as how to control this spray gun. We're going to go ahead and back this up just a little bit to the point where it's almost already out. Then we'll pull our trigger, and then we'll turn it in clockwise, and as soon as that trigger moves, it's set at wide open. And we'll take our fan and we'll set it all the way to the left counterclockwise, and that's at wide open as well. So the spray gun is ready to spray at this moment. So we're going to go ahead and put that on there, and we're going to go a little bit old school today. I always miss doing this. This is what I was brought up on when spraying, and I think we're going to be just fine. But before we spray, let's go ahead and get suited up. If you guys want to support the channel, go ahead and grab one of these from the description. I know I always got to get laced up before because I got to protect my tan lines. I got to keep it original. Who else is repping tan lines? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, a lot of folks are really confused between primer and sealer, and I'm going to clear things up for you right now. Basically, these are a white and black primer or sealer. This is called Color Build. Now, you can't get this on Amazon. You can only get this at your jobber that sells these brands, okay? Sickens brands, Asco Nobel, they sell this, okay? Now, some actual primers are just primers by themselves. They're not made into sealer. Some primers are primer and sealer depending on how we mix it up. So let's first start off with what's the same. So this one mixes up 3 to 1 to 1, no matter if it's a primer or a sealer. So that's 3 to 1 to 1. Of course, you read it from the inside. Now, I really don't want you to concern yourself with the mixing ratio because yours is going to be totally different. I'm just telling you what mine is. So I'm going to mix up what I believe to be a little bit of a light gray without having to do it in the computer. So I'll add just a little bit of black. So now we have our mix that can either be primer or sealer. And here's how in our system we determine what is what. If I want it to be a primer, I'm gonna add these two. The 1 and then the 1. 3 to 1 to 1, okay? I don't want it to be a primer. This is gonna thicken it up, make it sandable. This is gonna make it into a sealer. This will be the other one, this will be the other one in the mixing ratio. This will thin it out, allowing it to lay down smooth enough so that base coat can lay on it smooth. So we'll go ahead and add our sealer hardener. And remember, this will never dry without adding your sealer hardener. Since these are 2K products, they all require a hardener, sometimes an activator as well. Now I actually already have this poured into an easy to control nozzle, so we can pinpoint it And there we go. That is a 3-to-1-to-1 sealer. Let's apply it. Now for this sealer application, you're gonna see one light coat, and you're gonna see me start to blend in this area and smooth it out. On the channel, you're gonna see two types of blenders. This is a reducer blender, like a melt-away edge blender. I use this on smaller stuff. The other blender is a blending additive that I coat the whole entire fender with. They both basically do the same thing, but this one dissolves the actual edge and smooths it out. The other blending additive smooths over on top. Here's how it goes. This is a 1.2. We're going to be using out of our 3M performance gun, and then we'll get into the DV1S. I'm going to spray this way so I can contain the sealer. Very lightly, I'm not full triggering it, only about 25% trigger, making sure I go through any burn through that I see, and this is going to go on as smooth as butter. At this point, right away, we're going to hit up that edge. And any sort of melt away that we have over here is just going to fade away, because this is just reducer and it evaporates on its own. All right, so we got our base coat loaded, and that's a nice fan. That's one of the biggest fans I've ever seen out of a minigun. So over here, this is smooth. I haven't even touched it yet, but I can guarantee you it's going to be smooth right on this edge right here. If this edge is rough, you're going to see it in the metallic. It's going to highlight that area. So what I'm going to really do here kind of is like a reverse blend. I'm going to start by getting my coverage here and blending here, and then I'll take it to the front. And what this does is it really helps with keeping the metallic away from the back. All right, we want to move the metallic to the front, not to the back. Now just like that, that almost looks good enough to clear. We'll allow that to dry. And by doing a reverse blend, we don't have to worry about continuously fanning it out, fanning it out, fanning it out, and creating that dark halo or that dark edge. Of course, slow reducer is going to help you out, but when you get yourself into a small, tight area, do the reverse blend first. All right, so we're ready for the second coat. You can see it dried a little bit patchy. That's because of coverage issues. It's not because it came out not looking good because the gun's not good or technique. It's just that in silver, your first coat is going to dry like this until you get full coverage. Now with our second coat, I'll reverse blend it, and then we'll blend it to the front, and we shouldn't have any issues. We can see how much it cleared up, and right after that I'm going to lower my pressure just a little bit, and I'm going to put on one nice wetter coat. That way it'll be a nice smooth drop coat, orientation coat, if you will. I increased my distance about 2 or 3 inches, and now I know, even though I've come pretty far over here, this is still OEM paint, right? Now some people might say you painted the whole fender. Well, we didn't. We blended into here. And of course, look at the tape, it's still yellow. Remember, our exhaust is over here, pulling all the overspray this way. As this dries up, it will smooth out even more and we'll be good to go. So let's let it dry and we'll come back for clear. I'm gonna use my Astro sunlight gun, and I'm gonna check it using the different lights it has. And I'm just looking at the blend, and in person, you're gonna be able to determine more than on camera right now. But I'm looking to make sure that the metallic is flowing from the front to the back, and there's no inconsistencies really, to be honest. So I'm happy with this. Of course, no color is ever perfect, but when blended, you're not going to be able to tell where the transition is. Only the painter will be able to know that information. But we're good here to clear coat, so we'll go ahead and we'll get that started, and we'll see what she looks like once she's all done. Well, that looks really good. And I'll tell you, I'm not really a big fan on miniguns, to be honest, because sometimes they just don't put the material down the way I want it to. But for the job and certain jobs, there's no other gun that will be able to do the trick. Keep that low overspray, keep it contained. It's great for guys if like you're doing smart repairs or something like that. Very, very controlled. Awesome, awesome gun. One of the best I've ever used, in all honesty. Well, that's gonna conclude today's video. I got a lot of work to do on my tan line, so I'm gonna get out of here. But remember guys, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it, it's just paint. I'll see you guys on the next episode.